Hey there, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Jamie, and we're your co-hosts for Two Clicks in a Pod.
Join us as we explore our missed times, stories, and memories due to divorce and a 1,000-mile separation.
I can't wait. You ready to get into it, Kev?
I am. Hey, Jamie, you think they're going to swear?
Oh yeah, consider yourselves warned. Today we are joined by Julie Porter. Julie received her bachelor's degree in marketing from Florida State University. After graduating, she built a career in automotive advertising, specifically working for Nissan, Mercedes-Benz, and Lexus. She currently works for Team One as an account director on the Lexus Dealer Association business in the Southern area. Outside of her professional life, Julie is a wife and mother. Most of her spare time these days is spent on the sideline of the soccer pitch where she watches her girls playing the sport they love. A lot of people are lucky enough to call Julie a friend. I'm even luckier to call her my best friend. Julie, welcome to Two Clicks. We are so excited to have you here today.
Thank you. I am excited to join you guys and feel honored to be a guest.
That's right. A long-term listener and now a guest. So welcome.
Super listener. I think I can say that I have listened to every single episode that you guys have dropped. So does that make me a super fan?
It does.
Yes,
you are a
it
super
does.
fan.
All right.
It
good.
does.
Yeah.
It does.
I need
You
that
are what?
gold star.
Yeah. We'll start giving. Oh, I did give you a hat. So you got a hat for being a super listener. So super fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, welcome. We're going to kind of get into a couple things with you, but maybe a little bit of background. I talk about you probably enough on this podcast, but Julie and I met, as you noted, neither one of us, I think, remember the actual meeting, which is really funny.
Yeah.
But Julie and I met when we were in the third grade, which we were 8 years old. And I don't remember how it happened, but it was a magical meeting. And she has been my best friend, my ride or die, my long-time companion since then. So she's been with me through, I think we've been with each other through many, many happy times, sad times, hard times. And again, you're just a great human and really excited to have you on to share your story. And I think hopefully help some people along the way with this. But yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your family and give us that background.
All right. Yeah. So introduction was spot on. I am career woman, wife, mom, all the things. And going back, I guess, to start at the beginning of the journey, because life is quite the journey. I met my husband in 2007, maybe. We were at a golf tournament in Atlanta, had mutual friends. We were introduced to one another and just immediately hit it off. And there was a quick wit to him, a sarcasm, I was drawn to his personality and just really everything about him. So fast forward, we date, we get married, and I recognized pretty quickly that there was an emotional void that we needed to kind of work through as a result of what he had been through in his upbringing. And more recently, he lost his mom to breast cancer. So this was 2009 that we got married, and he lost his mom, I think, in about 2001. So he was young. I mean, you're in your 20s and you lose your mom to breast cancer. Unfortunately, he had already lost his dad much younger when he was in middle school. So there were just some emotions there that I knew we needed to try to work through, unpack, and I just wanted to see how I could help him do that. So I thought, what if we find an organization focused on breast cancer in Atlanta and try to somehow get involved, a way to honor the memory of his mom's life and just try to help him, sort through some of the past hurt that he had experienced from that. So I stumbled upon an organization now called Georgia Alliance for Breast Cancer. It was at the time called It's the Journey. It was founded in 2002 when the Avon 3-Day left Atlanta. And there was a breast cancer survivor that had been a longtime participant in the Avon 3-Day. And she just thought, we really need an organization here in Atlanta that the funds are raised here and they stay here to benefit families, to benefit women that are local to the metro Atlanta. And it's grown, of course, to the greater state of Georgia since then.
Those walks, because you mentioned the Avon, and
Yeah.
there's Susan.
There's the Susan G. Komen 3-day.
Okay, so those are all, and you may not be an expert on all this, but so all of those are individual, obviously, charities or organizations. So none of that's really, they're not affiliated, I guess is what I'm trying to get to each
Correct.
other. Those are separate things. Okay.
They are not affiliated. And they're great organizations. And an organization like Susan G. Komen, they host 3-day walks in multiple different cities.
Right.
And a lot of the money that's raised is kind of swept into a national fund. And, you just don't know, you can't track as easily where the dollars are going. So the Georgia Alliance for Breast Cancer was founded on the premise that all the money raised in Georgia stays in Georgia. And it was almost a more comfortable walk and experience than the 3-day. The Georgia Alliance for Breast Cancer, their flagship event, is a 2-day walk. It's over the course of Saturday and Sunday, 20 miles on Saturday, 10 miles on Sunday. You have a hotel room that's part of your registration fee. You get to sleep there overnight instead of, sleeping in a tent. So it was just a really lovely event that was developed for the state of Georgia, and having some local funds stay close.
Yeah, I love your point about it being trackable, because this is something I've learned from Chris. He always, when I'm like, oh, should we give to this charity? And Dad, I don't know if we've never talked about if you give to charities, but he's always very uptight about, you really have to look into those. Like, you really need to research, because a lot of these, like, you don't know where they're going. You don't know who these funds are actually benefiting. So if you want to look, if you want to do that, then do the research. So that's really cool that where those dollars are going to.
Yeah. That is, and it's the good ones are very transparent about that. So it's an easy research to do for the most part.
It is. It's easy research to do. And there's a charity rater that you can go and see out of every dollar raised, what percentage of that dollar is turning back to the community or to the cause. Mm-hmm. And the Georgia Alliance for Breast Cancer is one of the top rated charities in the state of Georgia for having a significantly high percentage of the dollars raised going back to work in the community.
That's good.
That's great.
Over the course of, I guess, 23 years, they've donated $20 million, or granted, I should say. There's a grant process where you can apply to receive a grant from the Georgia Alliance for Breast Cancer board that reviews all of the different grant applications. And there's a very thoughtful process in how the dollars are granted. But $20 million have been granted over the course of the 23 years that they've been an organization. So pretty powerful, and a lot of room to grow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you went into this on the first time, when was that? So were you guys married when you did the first walk, or?
We were. We got
dating?
married in May 2009, and our first time walking was October 2009.
Oh, okay.
So we started as Julie and Jason walking. We very originally named ourselves Team Porter. And, you can imagine the creativity with the names that you get of different teams in a breast cancer walk. But, we never really could wrap our heads around something creative and cute. So we were Team Porter. We walked for a couple of years. We met so many people. We ended up bringing a couple of folks that we met on the walk into our team. So the mission really started as how to help ourselves, really. And it grew to, how can we take this experience and the association with this incredible organization and bring other people into the mix, have them, benefit from it the way that we did, grow our team, have more people walking with us, which ultimately results in more fundraising and more dollars for the organization. So, we started out in 2009 as just the two of us walking. Fast forward to 2025, we are a team of 15. We have 11 walkers, and we have 4 youth crews. So there's a variety of different ways to get involved. You can walk, you can volunteer. The kids are now involved with us because they're at the age and they've developed a youth crew. So they go around and help out throughout the weekend. So we're pretty happy with where we are and always looking for more opportunities to grow. And Jason's involvement has grown significantly. He went, of course, from walking to joining the board of directors, and now for the last 4 years has been chairman of the board.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was wondering how, when you brought this idea forward so early in your relationship and just what you described, with his history and his background with losing both parents and his mom, obviously, to the cause of what he's doing today. But I mean, it sounds like he was open to the idea and jumped right in. It wasn't any convincing. He sounds like he just kind of put both feet right in it and took off. So that's cool.
Yeah. And one of the craziest stories, the first year that we walked, the route changes every year. So you start at one point, you walk 10 miles, you have a lunch break, you walk another 10 miles, and you've finished for the Saturday. The first year that we walked, the Saturday route went right by his mom's old neighborhood. And it was kind of one of those weird divine interventions or signs that we're doing the right thing. We're honoring her. We're walking right by where she used to live. It was just a really special moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Dad calls that Dad texted me the other day. And what did you say, Dad? God speaks. I think you call
God
that
speaks.
God speaks moment where you feel, you see that. So you see that, you witness it. That's really cool. So then you mentioned the fundraising that goes in, and one of my favorite ones that you talk about every year when we're all catching up. I think you guys do like a Christmas tree. Don't you guys go around picking up Christmas trees? And that's a big fundraiser that you guys then do to, obviously you're doing this throughout the year, right? To get funds.
Yeah, we do. So one of our biggest fundraisers just for our team and personally, the fundraising commitment for each individual walker is $1,200. So you sign up to walk for the full 30 miles or 2 days. Your commitment to fundraising is $1,200. So yes, the Christmas tree fundraiser is one of our biggest fundraisers, and it's really fun. It's grown significantly over the course of the last few years. We put emails out, we blast it out on social media to our neighborhood. We've expanded to a couple of other neighborhoods, and we say, hey, we'll recycle your Christmas tree for you after the holidays, and it's a $10 fee. We'll just set it out on the curb. We'll come by, pick it up. There's a recycling center right down the street from us. So it's become a production. We load up a trailer. We drive around the neighborhood. We load Christmas trees onto the trailer and go recycle those. And I mean, there are days that we do like 50 trees in a day.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
yeah, that's awesome.
And then, we always look for opportunities too, to run all of the money that we raise through a corporate match program. My company does a corporate match of up to $1,000. So if we bring in $1,000 from the Christmas tree fundraiser, I can run that through the company and get $1,000 match. So
that's awesome. Because it's $1,200 per walker, not like for your team. Yeah, that's amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have to know, you went in as Team Porter, but now you're what? You said 15. What do we have a better name now? Or?
We have what we think is a much better name.
Okay.
We are Team Tits and Giggles.
Tits and Giggles.
Tits and Giggles.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that.
Oh, not tits, slits, and pits?
Tits, slits, and pits. That's what we focus on watching. Yeah.
Tits and Giggles.
Tits and Giggles. Well, that's amazing. All right. So you're headed into this walk takes place in October, and we'll talk more about that in a bit, but you're rolling into this then soon. So are you training? Are you in training mode?
I am in training mode. Yes.
All right.
We've done it every different way. We've done it where we train extensively and you feel really good at the end of this. We've done it where we don't have time to train. We don't think about training and you're hurting at the end of 30 miles. But
I believe it.
Right now we are at soccer practice 4 nights a week, and soccer practice is an hour and a half. So we drop the girls off and we get out there, get on trails and just walk and just walk and walk and walk. So that's actually one of the great benefits of having the girls at practice as many nights a week as they are. We can log, I mean, and I've talked to you when we've been walking, and it's like, you can easily get 5 miles in.
Yeah. So you're going into, this is going to be your 16th year, Julie, doing this walk. This year, it holds a little bit more. I'm going to cry, I think. A lot more meaning and a lot more importance in, I'm going to selfishly say, our life.
Yes.
Because
a good call.
Because it is our life. So I'm going to tell this, how this came about from my perspective, and then let you share it from yours. But I don't even know if I've told you this, Dad, but it was April, and Julie and I talk all the time. I've told you this. The girls and I, we use Marco Polo, so we're constantly talking. But we don't talk. Julie and I we don't talk one-on-one, like on the phone, all that often. Probably once a month,
Yeah.
But I was working, and she had sent me a text and just said, "Hey, are you free for a call today?" And this has come after, I knew she had some appointments going on and stuff. So I got that text, and of course I was on a work call, and I said, I'm wrapping up this call, and I'll call you back later. So we connected that night, and Julie shared the news she's going to share right now. But I will tell you, I feel like I'm going to use this time to apologize to you, because I think I just really, really didn't handle it well. I kind of fouled that up, and I've been meaning to tell you that for a long time. But I also try to live in a life now of like, your reactions are your reactions, and your truths are your truths, and your pain is yours. And that was what it was for me. But let's go back to April of 2025 and what, your journey has been since then.
Yeah. So April was an interesting month for me, for my family. I was going to bed one night, and I'm a stomach sleeper. Don't know how you guys like to sleep, but I think the coziest way to sleep is like flat out on your stomach, starfish style, arms above your head. And I laid down, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. I just kind of felt something in my left breast. And I'm like, I kind of was poking around. I'm like, oh, that's like a big bump. And it was just all of a sudden, out of the blue, out of nowhere, here this is. And I was like, well, that's not good. So I got up the next morning, called to see if I could get an appointment. And I've got an established relationship with breast care specialist of Atlanta. I had an abnormal mammogram on my very first mammogram, I think at 39. And my OBGYN said, go to these guys. They're super thorough. They're the best of the best. You're going to spend 4 hours at your appointment, but they're going to do ultrasound. They're going to do mammogram. They're going to read the results right there. You're going to know things day of. You don't have to wait. They're phenomenal. So I have that relationship. So I call them. I said, hey, I'm feeling something. I think I should get an appointment and come in and get this checked out. And they said, oh, we're booked solid. I can't get you an appointment until July. And I was like, I'm telling you that I feel a lump in my breast, and you're telling me this is probably the end of March, and you can't get me in until July. And I just didn't even know how to process that. And I hung up, and I just was like, this is not acceptable. I don't know what to do. So I told Jason about it, and I just sat on it. And the next day I called back, and I got a different person. I explained the situation. She said, I've got an appointment for you next week. We can get you in first week of April. I was like, oh, we're on spring break. We're going to be out of town. Fortunately, we were going very close, and I could drive back for the appointment. I said, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So I go to the appointment, and great news. They do ultrasound. They do mammogram. The big bump I was feeling was nothing to be worried about. It was a cyst. Mm-hmm. They said, this is a cyst, no concern. If it bothers you, we can take care of it, but And by that point, it had kind of gone down. And I'm like, oh man, am I going to be like the person that cried wolf? And I'm coming in saying I have this big lump in this big spot, and I actually go there and there's nothing. So the unfortunate part was they said, the cyst is fine. It'll work itself out. However, we see another little area of concern that we think we should biopsy. It's most likely just calcification, but it's changed since your last mammogram. So we're just going to biopsy it to be on the safe side. And I had previously had a biopsy on my right breast, same story, calcification, a little cluster. We just want to make sure that was nothing. So I went into this with the mindset, this is the same thing that I've dealt with already. Everything's going to be fine. No big deal. Mm-hmm. And I was at work one day waiting, for the call about the biopsy. And I saw a breast care specialist calling. I jump out of a conference room. I go answer the phone, and it was the doctor. And I knew immediately. The doctor doesn't call you unless it's bad news. You get a nurse or a tech or somebody else that's going to say, hey, everything's fine, and we'll see you in 6 months. And when I answered the phone and, the doctor said, hey, it's Dr. Stallings, I thought, well, shoot. Mm-hmm. So she told me, she said, I'm surprised. We didn't expect this, but it is invasive ductal carcinoma. You have breast cancer. And I was just like, what? Mm-hmm. It's crazy. You go through so many emotions. When you first hear that news, I think the first for me was, she's made a mistake. Mm-hmm. Maybe she's reading somebody else's chart and called my phone number, and this is just not right. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you're terrified. It's a pretty wild ride. It's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
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 And what I think is, I couldn't remember. I know you mentioned the previous, when you had to do the biopsy before, and obviously, we would talk about this on Girls Weekend. You were keeping us in the loop, and we were all like, we were all very nervous, and then you call, hey, it's nothing, so were you going annually, or were you doing your mammograms every 6 months, or you were still on an annual check?
I had been going every 6 months after the first biopsy. And then when I got, clear results for several times, they said, okay, we can see you once a year now.
Back to once a year. Okay.
Yes. And I was due in for my annual mammogram, probably in either June or July of this year, when I actually went in April and found out.
Yeah. Right. So I'm curious, just knowing you got that, you had that call, you're at work. How did Jason, I'm assuming you went home that night and told Jason, how did that conversation go, sharing that news?
Yeah, I'm a very open book, and I can't really hold on to things. So I needed to talk to him immediately. Mm-hmm. To be perfectly honest, the first two people I knew I needed to talk to were Jason and to you, Jamie. Mm-hmm. I just thought, these are my people. This is my inner circle. I have to tell them. I have to have them know, and I have to have them kind of rally around me and help me figure this out. So I called Jason as I was walking out of the office, and I told him, and he is very stoic. And he said all the right things. I think that inside he was reeling in a sense, just based on the experience he had with his mom. And now it's like, wow, now my wife. But he kept a guard up and was so strong for me, and was truly the constant and the rock throughout this whole thing. He was actually supposed to be leaving the very next day on a guy's golf trip. And I even said that to the doctor when she got it. I said, my husband can't come to the appointment tomorrow because he's going on a golf trip. And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to leave. I'm going to go to that appointment with you, which I needed. It's so much information that you're ingesting and trying to understand and process. And he would ask all the right questions when I was just really spinning out on information. He could process it and ask questions that I couldn't even think about coming up with. So,
Yeah, man, that's incredible. Number one, but that can't be good news from anybody's perspective. Him having the history that he has, and then just and I guess you had somewhat of you go and you find something, but like you say, the cyst was more aggravating than what the underlying real issue was. And I know, I feel when you know your body doesn't feel good or there's something not right, you know it's not right. And so in this day and age, the first thing that you do is kind of panic and think that something big, small, or whatever, but if it's not supposed to be there, you just start worrying. And then to realize that was taken away, and then, something the size of a dime probably, or whatever, just was where the monster was. But
Yeah.
anyway, I'm curious to hear where you turned for support other than Jason. I'm sure with being integrated into the Team Porter group over there and all of that knowledge and knowledge base, you had a lot of support and friends coming to the rescue as well.
I did. I feel so fortunate to this day for the community, the friends, the family, the colleagues, the clients, the people that just rallied around me and our family and supported us. It truly is remarkable. And I had 3 women in particular that I really leaned on that had similar experiences. They had breast cancer. They all 3 had double mastectomies. And I got on the phone with them and said, hey, would you be willing to talk to me about your experience? Can I ask you questions? And they were just a wealth of knowledge. One in my neighborhood that is a fiercely private woman. I text her and I said, would you be willing to talk to me about this? And she basically cleared her calendar and said, whatever you need. And she said, why don't we go for a walk in the neighborhood and we can just talk? And I think we probably walked and talked for 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And the amount of information she gave me, the suggestions, the advice, it was invaluable. I mean, even down to what did you do wrong or what did you not do that you wish you had done? And we took all of that and implemented those things. She said, I really wish that I didn't have my kids at home when I came home from the hospital. They didn't need to see me in that condition. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So we made arrangements to send the kids with some dear friends of ours. And they spent the week with some friends. So by the time they came back to the house, I felt like I was healing enough. We had a routine down. And I could be ready and prepared to, be a mom.
Well, you were so organized. You're such a planner. And I remember you told me, and thank God you had her, because I literally just fell apart on the phone, Dad.
You didn't.
I did. I fell apart. And then I kind of pulled it back together, and I just told her, I was like, well, we got this because there is no other outcome than you being okay. Like, that's just what's going to happen. So we've got it. And you called the next day and you said, hey, this lady in the neighborhood, I'm going to go for a walk with her. And I'm like, that's great. Like, great. And then I remember when you came back from that, we talked the next day, and it was like, you needed that because that was when you went into Julie mode. You were just like, all right, like, I know enough now to know what I need to do to get going. And it was, I think what has been so remarkable from my perspective, just being on the other end of the phone call and listening to you is, and we'll talk about the decisions you had to make if you're comfortable with that. But, I know it's end of August right now, but like this happened in April, and
Right. It's
you
just
have gone
months ago.
through so much. It wasn't that long ago, but you were able to move very quickly. And from my seat, it felt like, which
Yeah.
the whole time all along, I'm like, okay, good. Okay. Like every call, I'm like, okay, this is good. This is good. Like we're moving through this, where you do hear, to your point at the first call, of we can see you in July. And we've had people, other family members dealing with cancer and stuff, and it's this waiting game. And I'm like, I made this comment. I'm like, God help you if you're like ever really sick, because it is kind of crappy what's going on that's another tangent, but with the healthcare system. So, all that to say, whoever, I've never met that woman, but I would love to give her a hug, because I feel like she really is like the guardian angel, here on earth, that you needed to just give you the kickstart to get into who I know you are, to just tackle the shit out of this thing. So,
well, and one of the things you mentioned, Jamie, was specific to decision making. And that I think is the blessing and the curse in my situation. The blessing is we caught this super early. It was a very small tumor. When they measured it from the MRI, they said 6 millimeters. I mean, think about your ruler and 6 millimeters. That's tiny. And the curse with catching it that early is you have a lot of the decisions to make. And you can choose, the surgeon said, you can choose to do a lumpectomy, and you can choose to do a single mastectomy. You can choose to do a double mastectomy. And from that very first meeting, she said, there are a few other tests we're going to run. We need to know the pathology on the tumor. We are going to do an MRI. We'd suggest you go get genetic testing. And all of these things could point you to the decision you have to make. Or all of these things could come back and just still say, the decision ultimately is mine. And, with a lumpectomy, radiation is required in most cases. She told me that once you do a lumpectomy and radiation, or if another problem occurs in the future, a radiated breast is incredibly difficult to operate on. So, from that first appointment, I really never even considered not going forward with a full double mastectomy. I just thought, I have had 2 kids. I have breastfed 2 kids. These things have served their purpose. And I don't want the anguish of going through this again and again and again. If they find a spot that's troublesome and want to biopsy it, get rid of them. Let's be done. Let's be done.
Yeah.
I remember sitting on that call when you were telling me, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. And in my mind, I was just like, just take the fucking things. Like I'm like, just like, but I didn't want to say that because it was your decision to make. But for me, I was like, I mean, no question asked. And I think part of me too is knowing the scare from 2 years before. It just kind of like, again, I'm like, don't say anything. These are her choices. But I'm like, what are we doing here? So I personally, when you said, I think I want to do the double mastectomy. And I was just like, yeah, I mean, I agree. I support that.
I think from my perspective, I think, well, obviously that was a very, selfless thing to do, not selfish thing. You were putting yourself for your family out there, take care of that. And I'm going back to the 6 millimeter. I mean, that's a quarter of an inch. That's not a dime. That's not even, it's a half of a dime, if that. So it's so small to where as fast as that news came on, I can see your mind thinking, well, what do I need to do? I mean, it's pretty small. It's probably controllable. And that I feel you made the right decision and that you just said, let's go, because as you just summed it up, they've served their purpose, and it was not, there was no vanity behind it. It was just, it has to be my survival. So let's knock it out and do what the hard decision is right here, right now, and not belabor over that. That's very courageous, young lady. So,
well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, my mindset was at the time I was 43 years old. I have 2 small kids, a husband. I've got to be around for them long-term. Mm-hmm. And if keeping me around long-term means going super aggressive with this surgery, then that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. And that, maybe talk a little bit about what all went into that. Yeah. So you make that decision, and that's not, for those who don't know, that's not as simple as, you take them and then you're done. And so that was something that I learned through you on what that process entails.
Yeah. So once I made the decision to proceed with the double mastectomy, the breast surgeon recommended a couple of plastic surgeons. She said, you're going to want to go meet with a couple people, do a consultation, and understand what the reconstruction process looks like and what you would be a candidate for. So you can do the surgery and not have any reconstruction. That's a choice. You can have fat harvested from somewhere else, and they can make a more natural breast for you out of your own fat. I was not a candidate for that. We didn't have any fat.
Hey, did you talk to James about that? Just James to be a donor?
I had plenty. I said that to her because she had no fat. They kept telling her, well, you're so small. We have nothing. You're so small. And I want to be like, well, that wouldn't have been my problem. I can give you some.
I could see you getting a big old fat Sharpie and circling the points on your body.
Yep.
Let's start here.
Yeah, let's go here. Let's here. You're doing your own consultation of what you're going to get removed. I mean,
yep, it's that area right behind my butt cheeks on the left and the right side. I could just grab that for her. But yeah, that was so funny when she's like, they keep telling me they can't because I don't have any fat. I'm like, oh, boo hoo. Oh man. So anyways, keep going.
And then, there are direct to implant, and there's a lot of options. And ultimately, I think one of the most common is to get tissue expanders put in. And the process it's so weird now that I've gone through it and I'm going through it, but I opted to do tissue expanders, which on the day of surgery, the breast surgeon comes in and operates first. She removes all the breast tissue. I had 2 lymph nodes removed. And once she's done, she comes out, talks to Jason, got everything, margins look good, everything looks great. We're in good shape. And then the plastic surgeon came in and started to do the work immediately after the breast surgeon was done. And she placed these tissue expanders, which are basically, I guess, like deflated balloons. And over time, you go in and you get the expanders filled with saline until you get to your desired size. And then I will have a second surgery where they'll remove the tissue expanders and place implants. So like a really fascinating process. It's
I don't want to make light of this, but I think that's number one. I think that's amazing. Number 2, now I know why the team's called Tits and Giggles now. And then the third point, I know exactly when you said that expander, and I had a vision because, and this is really kind of a random comparison, but it is somewhat of a good comparison because you can go to Home Depot and buy these airbags that are just so thin. And so think you want to kind of, take that countertop off the kitchen, and you're able to put a putty knife in there and shove that little airbag in there. And then you just pump it up with the little, little small, and it just pops it right. It expands it and pops it right off.
There you go.
There you go.
Did you get them at Home Depot?
I did not, but they do have QR codes.
Do they really?
They do.
Does
Just
it
in
come
case
with
there's a
instructions when you hit the
recall.
QR code? It shows you how to install.
No instructions, strictly for recalls.
That's amazing. That
Yeah.
is
Well,
amazing.
that was when I went
I'm
down to.
sorry for making light of that, Julie, but
No,
I'm just
it's-
trying
you
to
have
get a
to
little.
laugh. You have to joke.
Yeah.
You have to
And
laugh.
that's why we call it Tits and Giggles.
That's right.
Listen, Dad, when I went down to visit Julie after the surgery, it was the day she had her first saline injection in the implants. And so it's me and Julie and Jason in the car driving back from the airport. And our conversation was, what size boobs should Julie get? And Julie's like, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of thinking, and it was gauged on, Jules, was it on milliliters?
It's cc's.
CCs.
CCs, that's right. Yep.
She's like, this many CCs. And of course, Jason's like, well, I just don't know why you wouldn't go with 300. That's what the plastic surgeon recommended. And he's like, and Julie's like, I just don't know that I want them that big. And he's like, and I just was like, of course you want them as big as they can be, Jason. Of course you do, you know?
Well,
Oh yeah,
Julie,
we're talking about like I went for the first expansion and I think they put in like 50 cc's, which is tiny.
Tiny.
And I looked down when she finishes the injections and I was like, whoa, these things are huge.
she was like, wait, you see my boobs, they're huge. And I'm like, no, they're not.
you need to stay away from your countertops. You don't go close to those countertops. They may start breaking free.
Start popping off.
So Jason's over there with one of your automobile brochures, and he's got model A, B, and C to just kind of peruse and pick out which one he wants, right?
Yeah.
One of the funniest things too, when we went to the plastic surgeon consultation with the plastic surgeon I ended up choosing, Jason's awful in a doctor's office. It stresses me out. He opens all the drawers. He plays with the things. He just can't sit still and keep his hands to himself. So he opens up this drawer and it was like
so great.
The drawer of implants. And
Oh,
I'm
Lordy.
like, oh boy. So we're having fun with it. We're going through there. We're getting out all the different sizes and they have them labeled. This is 200 cc's. This is 250, 300. Well, I go digging around and try to find the biggest one in there. And I did. I found this 500 cc breast implant. I put it in my hand and I took a picture of it. I'm like, I sent it to the girls. I'm like, this is my inspiration. What do you think?
Oh, Lord.
Oh boy. Yeah.
So I'm assuming there were no arguments over how many cc's we were going to put in the inflatables. Expanders. I'm sorry, the expanders.
Yeah. Jason has been very diplomatic throughout the whole process. And he's just saying, whatever you're comfortable with, it's your decision. It's your body. I will be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When ultimately I know he's like, yeah, go bigger.
Yeah, go big or go home. Go big, Jules. Go big.
Go big.
Yeah. But didn't Harper even say that? Didn't Harper say like, Mom, they're not that big?
No.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This last expansion that I did, the plastic surgeon said, everything's looking good. I think this is a really good size for you. It's nice on your frame, on your body type. She said, here's your homework. Go home, try on a tank top, a bathing suit top, just kind of see how you feel at this size for a couple of weeks. And she said, if you want to come back and do another expansion, you can. And what's funny is the girls all along had been like, Mommy, do not get your boobs too big. Just don't do anything ridiculous. So then I get this last expansion and I'm, trying them on for a little while, walking around the house. And Harper's like, yeah, I think you can go a little bigger.
Have you had any balance issues?
None. No, not yet.
God.
I'm like teetering.
So my question is how do they there's no valve or anything, or how do they actually put the additional fluid in there?
Oh, this is incredible.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
This is pretty fascinating. So you're right. There is no port, there is no valve, there is nothing exposed on the outside of my skin. Mm-hmm. When I went in for the first time, they picked up this little magnet. They stick a magnet on my breast to find where the port is under my skin. Oh. And there's like a guide hole or pin mark or whatever. Mm-hmm. And the nurse just puts the needle in where that little guide marker is, and it finds the port, and you start filling them up.
I just I have so many visions going on in my head over this deal. So I can see her pulling in there like she's going into the pit, and they know that they need to get 10, they got to get 10 more cc's in her. So they get there and they got that magnet going around and they put that injection in there and out they come and the clock stops, and they're
it's hilarious because
timing the in and out.
The nurse is the one filling it up and the plastic surgeon's just kind of looking over her shoulder and watching it inflate. And she's like, a little bit more, yeah, okay. Oh, that's good. That's enough for today. All right.
What's the saying when you're like, say when? Yeah. Are they like, say when? Yeah.
This is one of my favorite episodes. So that I've got to tell a quick story about Suzanne, and you talk about just a little bit more. When she makes a container full of instant, iced tea or something, or makes me a jug of Kool-Aid, I mean, she gets down there and she is just eyeing that water going into where it's up to right on the 2 quart, and then she overfills it, and then she starts
siphoning it off. Oh my God!
I said I just. Oh yeah, just go easy.
When
the doctor,
oh
go
my
easy, go
Lord.
easy. Patience. Yep, wait for it. Yep, that's. I'm glad there's humor behind that for sure. Anyway, I'm glad that you. I think you made a wise choice of just jumping in, all in, and then as well as far as the reconstruction, that just makes perfect sense to me. I've learned a lot. If I ever have anybody to need faced with that, I'm calling.
Have them call Julie.
I'm pretty sure I've got Jules's number on my phone. I'll just dial her up. And
when is the next? Do you have your surgery scheduled then? When is that happening?
I have the exchange surgery scheduled for November 18th.
November 18th, right before the holidays, so you can kind of rest up. Yeah.
It was thoughtfully timed. Our real busy season at work is October and November. And having been out for 6 weeks for the first surgery, I've got a girl on my team that's going to be going out on maternity leave October 15th. We're going to be spread thin. I just thought, and I wanted to get through the walk. The walk is October 4th and 5th, 3rd and 4th, one of those. And wanted to be able to participate in the walk with zero issues holding me back, get through the busy season at work. And I'll have the surgery on the Tuesday, the week before Thanksgiving, really lay low the week of Thanksgiving, recover and be back at it. The recovery should be a little bit easier on this second surgery than it was on the first.
Yeah. Well, if I can segue, because I think what I love so much about, if I can say what I loved about this process is when I came to visit you after surgery, and we had just such a great weekend. We just, because you were post-surgery, you couldn't do a lot. So we laid around, we hung out, we took the girls shopping and had just lovely, lovely days. I will treasure those days because we don't get that by ourselves very often. And I don't get the time with your girls like that by myself often. And it was just a great weekend. But we were sitting there one day, and I think it was because you were like, this next neighbor is bringing over dinner for tonight. Like I don't know what it is, or you were asking me like, are you good to just eat that? I was like, yeah, I don't care. And I'm like, well, what's that all about? And you just shared the acts of kindness and the people that you said, not like you didn't know you were well liked, but just how many people and what your community did for you. And it was almost heartbreaking because you just looked at me and you're like, I just feel like so undeserving of this. Like, because, we did catch it early. And as I tell people up here who ask about you, I'm like, well, everything that we needed to be the way we wanted it to be, we got. Like, we got the best kind of cancer. That's how I tell people. They're like, what? I'm like, well, like, she got the right kind of receptors and it wasn't that big. And I'm just like, we got everything the way we wanted it. And so you felt this like burden of feeling that. And this is when you started reading The Good Life. And yes. I want you to share now that I teed that up for you, just share a little bit about that and where you were at with it and what led you to start reading that book and how that's kind of changed your perspective, I think.
Yeah. That book, I did a lot of reading post surgery, and that was one that I had had on my reading list for quite some time. And Jamie, I know you've talked about it on the pod before. It's the Harvard study, and it essentially is looking at what is the key to unlocking happiness in life. And ultimately, it is fruitful, thriving relationships. And I just kind of latched on to the lessons, what I learned in that book, having come off of the experience that I had from surgery, and the outpouring of support and love and care for me, for our family. It truly was so overwhelming. It was so overwhelming. I mean, in the days after surgery, the amount of times the doorbell rang with another delivery, we had a friend of ours set up a meal train, and meals were coming to our house every third day. The just thoughtfulness of things that people were doing for us made me realize it is so simple and so easy to make someone feel loved and to make them feel that they're cared about. I mean, even as simple as a text message. How are you doing? How are you feeling? It's something that really, and I haven't figured out yet how to pay it forward, but I need to figure that out. I need to figure out, how do I take the experience that I've had and figure out a way to pay it forward. And, I'm not one that would typically reach out to people just randomly. I'm a sit back and let people contact me. And I just want to put more energy in cultivating relationships and touch points that matter and that make you feel good and make you feel fulfilled.
Yeah. Well, and I think what I found when you were saying all that to me that day, I remember looking at you and just saying, Julie, just take it. Take the help. Take the, like, you are deserving, and you are such a good friend, and it was, Dad, it was a beautiful, that community that they have there. It was pretty remarkable. Like, it was,
Yeah,
because
sounds like it.
I witnessed it. We were sitting there one day, and one of her neighbors came over, because I was there, I don't know, 3 weeks post surgery. So I think she was had waited, and she's like, I just wanted to come in and check on you. And they just wanted to see that Julie was okay. And she looked great. I mean, you would have never, like, she looked good. And, yeah, it's just, I think what I would tell you is that you got that because you are deserving of it. People don't do that for just anybody. But I loved when you were telling me about this, I immediately was like, all right, I gotta read that book. And as Dad likes to tease me, I'm doing it on Audible, but, and I've been listening to that. I like to listen to it when I do my runs or when I mow. And it was funny. I was listening to it yesterday on my run, and one of the things came through, and I'm like, I found myself, I'm just like talking out loud to myself. At one point I just go, so true, so true. But it's like, there's just these things, and it's so simple. It's like these simple things, and you're like, yeah, obviously, but, so I thank you for sharing that with me, because I am really enjoying it. And I've talked about it on the pod. I've recommended it, and obviously recommended it to Dad, recommended it to my brother the other day. But, yeah, I think you are deserving. And I'm just glad you have that community there, because that was the hardest. That was what was so hard for me that night when you told me. I mean, I was like catatonic at one point. I was just sitting there staring, and Chris just looked at me and he's like, honey, she's going to be okay. And I'm like, well, she has to. He's like, she's going to be all right. And then I just said, I just wish I could be there. And he's like, but you can't, so, well, and he's like, but we'll get you there, like, well, he's like, get on an airplane, go when you need to go. And when you said that day, you're like, well, Jason's going on this golf trip. And I told Chris, I was like, and Jason's going on a golf trip? And he's like, honey, he's not going to go on that golf trip. And because you said the same thing. You're like, I'm going to let him go. And I was like, well, but who's going to be at the appointment to like take the notes? And Chris was like, honey, he ain't going to go on that golf trip. It was like, even he knew. He's like, you two are crazy. Like, he's not going to do that. And sure enough, he didn't, but one other thing too, I wanted to tell you, because I didn't know if I told you this when you were that weekend when you were upstairs, I think like getting ready for bed or something. I was sitting downstairs with Jason, and to your point about just how great he has been, and he has, but he shared with me, because I just looked at him, I'm like, how are you doing? Like, she's not here. How you doing? And he's like, it's been hard, but he said, Jamie, it's almost like everything about my life happened for me to be able to be there for Julie and for us to live through this together. Mm. He's like, my mom, he goes, not that I ever wanted to lose my mom, but it was like all of that put me in a position to be able to be who I need to be for Julie. And it was a very beautiful statement. And, I was like, well, I'm just glad that you guys have each other, but you're allowed to be scared. And I hope you're, kind of like, I hope you're, you're reaching out to your friends, because I know he was scared. I know the girls were probably scared, and we all were, but you're doing well. I guess let's circle back.
Yes.
We're maybe tell everybody what's on, what the news was and where you're at. Obviously post-surgery and finally getting, because that's what I thought was amazing too, is you do all this stuff about the surgery and you had not even met with an oncologist yet.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that was a learning experience in and of itself, just the process and the order in which you see doctors. So it was surgery, and your follow-up even from surgery is mostly with the plastic surgeon. My first appointment post-surgery was with the plastic surgeon, not the breast surgeon. So then I went and saw the breast surgeon 2 weeks after surgery, and she was basically like, yeah, everything looks great. I'll see you in 6 months. And at that point, I had been handed off and referred to an oncologist, and got the appointment with the oncologist because really they're the one that are going to figure out your post-surgery treatment, right? Mm-hmm. So they're going to look at the pathology of the tumor, what kind of cancer was it, what kind of receptors, and they're the ones that would develop the post-surgery treatment. So in my initial meeting with the oncologist, she said, this tumor was tiny. We got it really early. It is highly unlikely that you'll need radiation or chemo. However, we want to do one final test just to be certain of that. And it was this test called the Oncotype test. And it essentially scores on a scale of 1 to 100, the likelihood of the cancer to return over the course of like 10 years in a distant location. So it's very, very minimal that anything would return in my breast because all the tissue has been gone. Could there be a cell remaining? Yes. But this is distant recurrence. So we wait. The Oncotype test took forever to come back. The score between 20 and 25 is a little bit of a gray area. Mine was 19. So I was like, oh, that's a little too close to 20 and 25. Don't love it. But the oncologist said, she took us through all the data. She said, there is less than 1% benefit to chemotherapy given all of the data and your score. So if we were to give you chemo, you would benefit less than 1% from that. Yeah. So she said, this Oncotype score, based on how small your tumor is, we're not doing any kind of post-surgery treatment in the form of radiation or chemo. I am on drug therapy for 5 years. It's this really common drug called tamoxifen, and it essentially just tells any of the cells in my body that are looking for estrogen to not let the estrogen in. My tumor was estrogen and progesterone sensitive. So you want to make sure that you're not feeding any cancer cells that may be floating around out there. You're not feeding them with what they want, which is the estrogen.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. And then the downside of that, obviously is just being on this medication for 5 years, and that will change things for you in terms of your normal life cycle of womanhood. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, it's like that. If that's the worst, then
yes,
you take that grain of salt, right?
In the grand scheme of things, this is a best case scenario.
Yeah.
The progression from day one of diagnosis to where I am now is all best case scenario, and exactly how we would want things to have unfolded is how they did. So I feel super fortunate for that. And I really attribute that so much to following my initial intuition, pushing for that appointment, and, being an advocate for my own health. And we caught it super early, and I am in the position that I am now because of that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Maybe a little bit of luck too.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's so true. And for those listening, anyone, all the different proactive screenings, like if you're not doing them,
you got to
do them, especially if you have insurance. It's like I started going to my general practitioner every year for an annual physical because you pay for it. It's preventative care. It's free. You're paying for it. It's quote unquote free, but you're paying for it. So, I told you that I recently went and had my labs done so I can make sure all that's and the mammograms and, Dad's been doing this for years, but you get your colonoscopies. Like you do the tests, people, you do the things because it's half an hour of discomfort that could literally save your life. And, you hear people all the time that are like, oh, I just never went. I never went to the doctor. I didn't. And I'm like, don't you have insurance? Yeah, but I felt fine. And so did you. I mean, you were another reason I think you've been so successful is you're like in the best shape of your life. And we didn't even talk about this, but you made the choice for no other reason, just to like try it, but stop drinking January 1st. Haven't been drinking and since then. You haven't, I don't think you still, right? You still haven't had any alcohol? No alcohol.
None.
To your girl's complaint, you don't eat sugar. Aunt Jamie, there's no sugar in this house. We won't. And I'm like, girls, I will send you sugar.
I will sneak it in.
I'm like, you text Aunt Jamie, I will get you some cookies. Like, yeah, but Dad, it was hysterical. They're like, nope, Mom doesn't let us eat that. There's no sugar in this house. Like, just very healthy is my point. And my point of that is like, even healthy people can get sick. So, do your thing. Well, I want to hear, kind of your takeaways. Obviously you got the walk coming up, but what, if you're leaving a message for everybody, what would you like to drop here?
Yeah, the message I think I would leave is, like I just said earlier, be an advocate for your own health. There, you have one life. It is precious. And raise your hand, advocate. Don't take no for an answer. Don't feel embarrassed about going and chasing something down a rabbit hole that you think may be wrong and it being nothing. Because in this instance, it was something. And I'm just so glad that I pursued and continued down the path. The other thing I would say is you're not alone. The phone call and the words "you have breast cancer" can feel super isolating. You can feel alone, and you're not. There are so many women affected by this disease. And my advice to anyone that's getting a new diagnosis is reach out to people, talk to people, find people that have been in a similar situation, because knowledge is power. Learn from what other people have done and experienced and help that guide your journey. Mm-hmm. And, I think the final piece is just be open to accepting help. And that was really hard for me. I'm a do-it-yourself kind of person. If I'm getting on an airplane for a business trip and somebody offers to put my bag in the overhead bin, I'm going to say, no, thanks. I've got it. I want to do everything on my own. And all of a sudden you are thrust into a position where you cannot do anything. Mm-hmm. The friend in the neighborhood told me, this was very eye-opening. She said, Julie, you are not going to be able to bend over and put a fork in your dishwasher. Like, you can't do anything those first few days. So be open to accepting help and, find a way to turn it around, pay it forward, and spread some love back to people that may need it.
Yeah. Well, and for those obviously listening, you've got the walk coming up. We know what you guys are trying to fundraise. If there's people out there that want to support, what's the best way to get in touch with you so that they can contribute to that target, that goal that you guys have?
Yeah. So the Georgia Alliance for Breast Cancer is an easy website. It is gaabc.org. There's a ton of information on there. The organization as a whole, we're always looking for more walkers, more volunteers, more sponsors, and there are a myriad of different ways to get involved. If you're interested in supporting Team Tits and Giggles, you go on Georgia Alliance for Breast Cancer's website. You can search for a specific walker by name. You can search for a team, make a donation there.
Perfect. I'm always willing to give money to Tits, Dad. I don't know about you.
That's
I think
right.
You are.
That's right. No doubt about it. But that's a great session and great information.
Well, I love you.
I love you. Thank you guys so much for having me on.
My other
You're
life
welcome.
partner.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your story. I know it's very personal, and your point about what you can do, I think this is one of those things, sharing that with others and giving people an opportunity. Like you said, if you're out there and you've recently either been diagnosed, or maybe your best friend, maybe your mom is going through it, there's people out there to talk to, and from both perspectives. And I just appreciate you sharing. I love you guys. I love you guys.
I love you guys.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in today. With so many podcasts out there, we are grateful you chose to spend your time with us.
And we'd love to hear from you. So send us your questions, comments, and feedback to info@twoclicksinapod.com, and we might feature your message in a future episode.
Also, don't forget to follow us on social and head over to our YouTube channel where you can watch the full episode live and in living color. You can find us at 2 Clicks in a Pod. That's 2, as in the number, clicks in a pod.
Well, James, until next time, love you.
Love you too, Daddy.